The rain hit the windows like a warning. Yin stood outside Jungkook's office door, holding the pregnancy test in her trembling fingers, the second line darker than the first, as if screaming what she couldn't. "You're pregnant," she exhaled, heart pounding. She hadn't planned this. Not now. Not with him, the man who loved control more than warmth, the mafia king whose name alone made grown men tremble. But it had happened, their baby. She didn't knock. She walked in. Jungkook stood by the massive window, black shirt rolled to his elbows, veins lining his forearms as he lit a cigar with a flick of his silver lighter. He didn't turn around. "What did I say about knocking?" His voice was cold, steel wrapped in velvet. She flinched. He turned, eyes sharp, jaw tense. "Do you enjoy disobeying me, Yin? Or are you just testing how far I'll go?" Her mouth opened, but no sound came. The test was still hidden in her hand. "Out, now, and next time. Knock like you're supposed to. This room isn't your playground." His voice was cold, final, like a slammed door in winter. He turned his back without another glance. She stood frozen for a moment. Then, without saying a word, no tears, no trembling lips, just silence, she turned around and left. The door clicked shut behind her, and in that quiet, something broke. She hadn't spoken to him in days, not at breakfast, not when he entered the shared bedroom, not even when he gripped her wrist that night, pulling her close, whispering against her neck, "Still mad, sweetheart? You know I hate being ignored." She pulled away. For once, he felt powerless. He didn't know about the baby, and now she didn't want to tell him. The entire mansion was silent, but not peaceful. It was that kind of silence that presses on your chest, heavy, loaded, dangerous. Jungkook hadn't come to the bedroom. He didn't even send one of his men to check on you. You lay curled up on the edge of the massive bed that felt too cold, too big to empty. Your hand rested over your stomach, small, barely a change, but inside, there was a heartbeat. Your child, his child. You didn't eat dinner, you didn't sleep, just stared into the dark velvet of the night sky through the window, wondering if love even existed in this world or if it had always been war in disguise. At 3:18 a.m., the door creaked open. You didn't move. You knew it was him. His boots' polished leather always clicked with a certain echo. Slow, heavy, intimidating. Click, click, click. You kept your back turned, biting your lip hard. The tears were dry now, but your heart bleeding. "You're mad." His voice was low, raspy, and colder than usual. "You didn't answer. I told you not to come into that room without knocking." Still no reply. He sighed, loud, frustrated. "You could have been killed. I had weapons on the table, files about enemies. You don't know what you could have walked into." You finally sat up and turned to face him. No tears, no anger, just one sentence. "I just wanted to tell you something." He stared at you, jaw clenched. You stood slowly, your bare feet touching the icy floor. You walked past him, gently brushing your shoulder against his as you whispered, "But now, it doesn't matter." You walked out of the room. For the first time in years, Jungkook felt powerless. He could shoot a man in the chest without blinking. He could make nations bend at his name. But tonight, he couldn't stop you from walking away, and he had no idea you were carrying his child. Jungkook didn't sleep that night, not because of work, not because of threats, but because your silence screamed louder than gunfire. The room still smelled faintly like your perfume, that soft vanilla jasmine scent that used to calm him down after a night full of bloodshed, but now it haunted him. He sat on the leather chair near the fireplace, head back, veins tense, glass of whiskey untouched in his hand. "It doesn't matter anymore." Your words echoed in his skull like a curse. He hated how fragile you looked walking out, but what scared him more was how fragile he felt the moment you disappeared behind the door. He didn't chase after you, not because he didn't want to, Because he didn't know how. He wasn't trained for love. He was trained to kill to control to command, but he was never trained on how to fix the heart of the woman he loved. The next morning, Jungkook finally got up, face emotionless, body still sharp in his tailored black shirt, but something was off. He wasn't walking like a mafia boss anymore. He was walking like a man whose world was one word away from collapse. He asked the maid, "Where's Yin?" The maid hesitated. He raised an eyebrow. "I'm not asking twice." "She went out, sir." "Out." "She left before sunrise, alone." His heart dropped. He didn't even grab his phone. He ran to the garage, threw the door open, and got in his matte black Maserati, because one thing about Jungkook, he lets no one touch what belongs to him, and you, Yin, even in silence, even after pain, you were still his. Meanwhile, you sat on a hospital bench, cold hands, clenched fists, the doctor's words still fresh in your ears. "You're 8 weeks pregnant, miss. Your body seems exhausted. Please take care of yourself and your child." Your child, his child. You touched your stomach again, and this time, you didn't feel weak. You felt like a mother, like someone who had something worth protecting, even if the father of your child was a man feared by the world, but not by you. Suddenly, footsteps, heavy ones, you looked up. Jungkook, his eyes found yours instantly, and for the first time, he looked scared. "What are you doing here?" he asked, voice barely a whisper. You swallowed, stood up, pulled out the tiny slip of paper from the doctor's file. You placed it in his hand. He didn't even blink before opening it. He read the word, "pregnant." Silence. Then, crash, the glass door behind him shattered. 2 men with guns entered, enemies, rivals. Jungkook shoved you behind him without hesitation. "Stay behind me, no matter what." Bang! The hospital lobby echoed with gunfire. You screamed out of instinct, out of fear, but his hand already shoved you behind a column. "Don't move." Jungkook's voice was low, not panicked, deadly. He pulled a gun from the back of his pants like it was second nature, like violence lived in his veins. The men pointed their weapons again, but Jungkook didn't flinch. 1 step forward, 2 more, then he ran. Bang, bang, 1 down, 2 down. Blood splattered the white hospital floor. You covered your mouth, eyes wide, not at the death, but at the man in front of you, the man protecting your life, your child's life, your everything. But he wasn't done. Another figure came behind the glass, gun raised. You screamed, "Jungkook." He turned, too slow. Bang, your breath stopped. He staggered back. No sound came out of your mouth, just horror, blood on his shirt, his hands. But he stood tall. He shot back, precise, lethal. The man dropped. Seconds later, silence. The gunfire was gone, but inside, your heart was breaking apart. You ran to him, hands on his chest, trembling. "You're bleeding." "Oh my God, Jungkook, it's not deep." He panted. "They won't touch you, not while I'm alive." You sobbed, pressing your forehead against him, not caring if his shirt was soaked in blood. Why would you do that? You could have died. His arms wrapped around you, tighter than ever before, because if anything happened to you, he whispered against your hair, "I wouldn't want to live anyway." You cried harder. Later that night, he brought you home. To his home. He didn't let you go for a single second. You sat on the bed, wearing one of his shirts again, oversized, soft and comforting. He came out of the shower bandaged, shirtless, scars on full display, but none of those scars compared to the one in his chest from the moment you said, "It doesn't matter anymore." You stared at him, he stared back, and this time, you weren't scared of what he was, you were scared of losing him. Jungkook. He blinked. "Yeah, I'm pregnant." He smiled. Soft, sad, honest. "I know." You pause, then added, "And I still love you, even when I'm scared of how much." "Then be scared," he said, "because I'm never letting you go." It had been 2 days. 2 days since bullets tore through a hospital. 2 days since blood soaked Jungkook's shirt. 2 days since he whispered, "If anything happened to you, I wouldn't want to live." You hadn't said a word about that night since, but neither had he. Instead, he watched over you like a hawk pacing near doors, loading weapons you weren't supposed to see, whispering with men in suits who smelled like secrets and danger. You were safe, but you weren't free. That night, you stood on the balcony of his penthouse, wind brushing your hair, moonlight silvering your skin. He came up behind you, quiet, shirtless, bandaged still. "You're still awake," he murmured. You didn't answer, just stared at the sky. "You're mad at me." "No," you said. "Yes, you are." "I'm not." You turned. "I'm scared." He froze. "I told you. No one will touch you." "It's not that," you said, stepping closer. "It's you, Jungkook. You scare me because I love you so much, and I know you'd bleed the whole world dry to protect me." "I would," he said without hesitation. You cupped his face, "Then let me do the same." He flinched. As if no one had ever offered to protect him before. "Yin, don't protect me from the world. Rule it with me." A long silence. Then he stepped back. He opened a drawer, pulled something out, and placed it in your palm. A silver gun. Your hands shook, your eyes lifted. "What is this?" "Power," he said simply. "I don't want." "You will. If you're going to stand beside me, you'll need to know how to survive, and I'll teach you." The next week, you learned how to hold it, aim, pull the trigger, not at people, not yet, but at glass bottles lined up like enemies of your future. Jungkook stood behind you, corrected your grip, pressed a kiss to your temple. "You're stronger than you know." You'd never seen him like this, gentle, focused, obsessive, yes, but not over control, over you. The storm arrives, then it happened. The name behind the hospital attack was revealed. Your father's debt collector, the same man who forced your family to beg, the same man who ruined everything before Jungkook came into your life. Jungkook found him. He told you not to come. So you did. The warehouse reeked of gasoline and blood. You stepped into the darkness, heels clicking against concrete. "Yin, what the hell are you?" "I told you," you said, walking straight up to him. "We do this together." The man was tied to a chair, beaten, barely conscious. Jungkook was ready to end him, but you raised your hand, the gun he gave you. Jungkook's eyes widened. "Yin," bang, straight through the man's leg. You didn't kill. You didn't need to. Pain was enough. "That's for my father," you whispered. "For my family. For making me believe I had to beg men like you to survive." Jungkook just stared at you. In fear. In love. That night, you returned to his mansion in silence. And words exchanged. He opened the door for you. You walked in, and without saying a thing, you wrapped your arms around him. "I'm still scared," you whispered, "but not of the world anymore." "Then what?" "Of what we'll become," you said. "Because I don't think either of us will survive this love unless we learn how to breathe in fire." 1 week later. It was supposed to be over. The man who hurt your family was taken care of. Jungkook's empire was quieter than ever. Your mornings were filled with black coffee, silk robes, and his kiss on your shoulder. But peace never lasts, not when you're sleeping beside the devil. One morning, you woke up to an empty bed. And a warmth. No scent of him, only a cold breeze through the cracked window. Then, a note on your nightstand. "Don't look for me. Don't follow me. I'll handle it. Stay safe for both of you." Your hands trembled. You ran to the study, his gun safe unlocked, his desk cleared, and your heart beating out of your chest. Where did he go? Why did he leave? Meanwhile, Jungkook was back in hell, the underground, where monsters wore designer suits and called each other brother. Because the threat wasn't over, a rival mafia boss, Victor Han, had returned from exile, and he had one goal: the girl, the child, and Jeon's entire empire, mine. In a warehouse, Jungkook stood in front of Victor. No emotion. No smile, just fire in his eyes. If you even breathe near her, I'll rip out your lungs myself. Victor laughed. Jeon, you've gone soft. Jungkook pulled a gun from his coat and aimed it at Victor's heart. Then test me. Back at the mansion, you weren't waiting anymore. You got dressed, black boots, leather coat, his old gun hidden at your waist. If he thinks I'm staying behind like a glass doll, he forgot who taught me how to shoot. You tracked his location through a shared device, a chip Jungkook had slipped into your phone months ago for safety, for control, and now .it was your weapon. The warehouse, moments later, Jungkook stood alone, outnumbered, unshaken. You brought 10 men, he scoffed, make it 50 next time. Suddenly the door slammed open, click, bootsteps, make it 50 plus 1. Your voice echoed through the steel halls. Jungkook turned, eyes wide. Yin, I told you, didn't I? I'm not staying behind. You're pregnant, and I'm angry, you whispered, cocking the gun. Is that dangerous enough for you? Victor smirked. You brought your little wife to a war, Jeon. She's not my weakness, Jungkook said. She's my goddamn war zone. And you just stepped into her fire. Bullets rained, enemies dropped. You and Jungkook stood back to back, firing, protecting, breathing in smoke and blood and the scent of your rebellion, until the dust cleared, and the only man standing was the one with you, your devil, your husband, your protector, and now, your equal. Later that night, you collapsed onto his chest, both of you bruised, bloody, shaking. Don't ever leave like that again, you whispered. I thought I was protecting you. I don't want protection, Jungkook, you said, pulling his hand to your stomach. I want us, all of us, together. Then marry me again, he said breathlessly. Right here, right now. No church, no suit, no lies, just you and me. And this war we turn into a home. You kissed him, softly, slowly, but with a promise. Even if the world burns, you said, I'll still find you in the ashes. A year later, the mansion was no longer silent, not when tiny feet echoed in the hallways, not when lullabies replaced gunshots, not when your world fit in arms no bigger than a loaf of bread. He has your eyes, you whispered. Jungkook stared down at the baby boy in his arms. Still. Silent. In awe. He wasn't the man who ruled the underworld right now. He wasn't Jeon Jungkook, the feared dawn of the East. He was just a man, a father, holding his son like the most fragile piece of glass in the world. He doesn't blink when I stare, Jungkook whispered, voice cracking, just like you. But peace is never promised, not in this life, not when your husband's sins have names, and those names aren't all dead yet. That night, you placed the baby to sleep and found Jungkook at the rooftop. Smoke danced from his lips, gun on the table, eyes lost in the moonlight. Do you regret it? You asked gently. Regret what? Giving me your heart. He turned, eyes dark. No, he said. I regret not meeting you before I had blood on my hands. You walked closer, wrapping your arms around his waist. Your hands raised our son. You whispered, that's all I see now. He chuckled softly. You see too much good in a man who's anything but. You kissed his shoulder. That's because I've seen your worst, and I stayed. Flash to the next morning, the baby cried. Jungkook rushed faster than your feet hit the ground. He lifted the tiny bundle, whispering soft Korean lullabies, pacing barefoot in sweatpants. You're okay. Baba's here. Shh, I got you. His tattoos flexed as he held the bottle with one hand and cradled the baby with the other. Your heart melted every time. You used to hold a gun like that. You teased from the doorway. This one cries more. He smirked. And pees on me. You both laughed. And then he walked over, pressed a kiss to your forehead. I never thought I'd be this man. You were always this man, you whispered. You just never had someone to hold your heart before. Weeks passed, nights were short, Mornings were wild, and your son already crawling like he ruled the house. But Jungkook had changed. He left meetings early, he rarely brought violence home, he even smiled more genuinely, until one night, he didn't. They're coming. Jungkook stood at the window, jaw clenched. Who? Victor's remaining allies, the ones I didn't finish. And what do we do? He turned to you, but not with fear, with fire. We protect this family, like hell on earth. The night was quiet, too quiet. You knew something was off when Jungkook loaded a gun before dinner and didn't say a word. He kissed your forehead like a goodbye. Jungkook, you whispered, grabbing his wrist. Stay upstairs tonight, he said, voice low. If anything happens, don't say if, say nothing will. He looked into your eyes, the softness that lived there, and nodded, but you saw it anyway, that flash of fear. He didn't fear death, he feared losing you. Midnight, you sat with your baby boy in your arms, rocking, whispering stories, trying to ignore the sounds of Jungkook pacing downstairs. Suddenly, bang, the sound wasn't a door. It was a body, then another, then silence. You ran to the nursery window and saw them, shadows, guns, blood dripping on marble tiles. They were in, already. Jungkook, you screamed, but he was already there. A blur of black, blood on his hands. A bullet grazed his arm, but he didn't stop. Yin, stay with the baby, he roared. You didn't. You placed your baby in the hidden panic crib and grabbed your knife, the one Jungkook gave you for just in case. You think I'm just a wife? You whispered to yourself. I'm a mafia wife. You crept downstairs, heart racing. One man, two, you stabbed, you fought, you survived, blood smeared on your arms, your wedding ring, scratched and shining under hallway lights. Yin, Jungkook saw you, his eyes burned. I told you to stay, and I told you, I'm not leaving your side. He pulled you behind him, 2 bullets, 2 bodies, dead. 4:27 a.m., smoke, blood, broken glass, silence again. You sat in the hallway, covered in red, Jungkook beside you, breathing heavy, and then, Appa. The word was faint. So faint. It almost didn't feel real. You turned your head slowly, your baby boy, standing at the top of the stairs, wobbling, tiny hands on the railing. Appa, he said again, softly. Jungkook froze. His eyes, wild and full of pain seconds ago, filled with water. Appa, he whispered back, as tears slid down his bruised face. He stood and climbed to his son, dropped to his knees, held him like he was light, like he was salvation. You followed, wrapped your arms around both of them. There, in the ruins of battle, you found peace, you found home. The blood was washed, the walls rebuilt, but the scars stayed, not the ones on their skin, the ones etched inside. It took months for the security alarms to feel like protection and not a countdown to chaos. It took time for Jungkook to sleep through the night without checking the door thrice, but he did it, because you were there. And you healed too, not all at once, not easily, but every time he reached for your hand in the dark you remembered, this man once tried to push love away, but fell harder than he ever planned. 1 year later, the baby was now walking, talking. He chased Jungkook around the garden barefoot. Appa, Appa, while Jungkook, the once feared mafia king, laughed. You watched from the patio, hand resting on your very pregnant belly, another child on the way, a new chapter, a new life. That evening, under soft golden lights, you stood hand in hand with Jungkook. He pulled you close as the sun sank behind the trees. You look like a painting, he whispered, brushing your hair behind your ear. And you smiled, still look like the villain in every love story. He chuckled. Maybe, but I'm the villain who fell in love with the woman who ruined him in the most beautiful way. The next morning, you gave birth to twins, a boy and a girl, tiny, perfect, loud, and so loved. Jungkook held them both with trembling arms. His eyes met yours, and you both knew. We were born in chaos, but we built peace with our hands. Years later, there was no mafia now, just a man, a woman, and 3 wild kids. He still kept a gun locked away, just in case, but most days, he carried toys in his pocket instead. You still made him blush, still made his heart ache in all the right ways. One night, when all the kids were asleep, Jungkook pulled you onto the rooftop. The sky sparkled. He held your hand like the first time. You know, he said, I tried so hard not to fall for you. You looked at him, the man who used to carry death like perfume. But you did. He nodded, again and again, even now, even tomorrow, even if the world ends, my love won't. You kissed him, soft and slow, and in that moment no shadows existed, only light, only love, only you and him, always. The end. He was made of war, she was born of wounds, but together, they became peace not because the world allowed it, but because they chose to create it.